Lordy, what are you doing? It's game time.
Oh, we're about to get after.
No, you're on. Do that thing you were doing.
Oh no, we're not recording this. We record this?
Yeah, we're recording.
That was barely. I was like a fake beatbox. Hold on.
Go ahead.
You gotta drop some bars.
Dude, I thought that was the show.
That's the intro.
Is that not the show?
Cut that into the intro of the episode.
If that's not our intro for the time, no. If you can't do something magical with that and put
Episode 100.
if you can't make that our intro, Noel, then you've done a horrible job as a content manager. I thought that was pretty legit. I was really in there. So the challenge today for this podcast is who can sit on the floor the longest, and that'll be the duration of the podcast.
Perfect.
Are you using the chair as a cheater?
Little bit. I just know my butt's gonna fall asleep.
So,
No.
so Lord, I don't even like saying Lord because I know you as Lordy.
Yeah, Lordy's cool.
You introduce yourself as Lord today to that guy in the sauna.
Oh, well, that's like official. Like Lordy is like the nickname. Like once I get to know him, then it'll be Lordy.
So give a breakdown, Lordy. Let's go first and last name, where you're from, what you're doing, the whole bit. Obviously, you've got hopefully something. I mean, there's got to be some sort of musical agency out there that just heard that beatboxing, and I'm sure you probably won't be playing football much. Well, you might be playing football with a contract of music, hip hop, I suppose. Wouldn't that be what that is?
I'm multi-talented. All right. So my name is Lord Hyeamang. Grew up in Abbott Valley, Minnesota. Technically live in Lakeville, but went to Abbott Valley High School. Graduated in 2014. I was a wrestler and a football player. Went on to play college football at Columbia University. Was two-time all-conference, and then ended up being captain my senior year. After that, I graduated and was fortunate enough to sign as an undrafted free agent with the Jets, but then I got cut. Then I signed with the Seahawks, got cut again. Signed with the Rams, made it through preseason games, but then I got cut again. And then I went out with the AAF, which is like a now folded, defunct league, for a little bit. Got cut there.
Where was that at?
That was Salt Lake, but training camp was in San Antonio. So I was in San Antonio.
I think I remember that.
Yeah. And then most recently, I was with the Montreal Alouettes in the CFL, and that is where I'm signed to for next season as well. So I'll be going back up there.
So you went full season last year in the CFL?
They signed me halfway through, so it was I was like there for 10, 11 games.
Oh, right on. Okay, so then you'll go back there this year. When's that start? In May?
Yeah, May is when training camp is, and regular season starts in June.
All right, so Lordy, this is another thing people really got to understand about this guy is that not only an unbelievable, we just found out has some rhythm to him, but also unbelievable football player, extremely strong, strongest guy that I know that I train with, but also extremely intelligent, and you're taking classes right now. Yeah,
very smart. So I was pre-med in undergrad. And there's this one class I could not fit in my football schedule. Yeah. And I'm taking that right now this offseason since I thankfully have a semester where I can take it. And so I'm taking organic chemistry lab at the University of Minnesota.
Dude,
so catch me walking around campus with my backpack.
Do you have the scooter game going?
No, I do not.
I heard I was working with a kid, one of the guys who plays baseball with the Gophers said they all got the scooters now.
I have seen them around. I just drive from my workouts to class.
Yeah. You're more of a. You've kind of left the college game. You're more of a. This is just let's get the credit.
Yeah. I'm just in and out.
So what led you down the pre-med path?
So honestly, before I was an athlete, I was like smart, and so like academics have been like a big focus in my family. So I'm from Ghana, a West African country, and like. As like a son of immigrants, they're always like big on education, especially like that area, big on like, all right, you need to go to college, you need to go get like a graduate degree, get a good job, boom, boom, boom. So like I was all on that, and like I like learning about new things that are interesting to me. It wasn't honestly until I didn't start playing football till 8th grade. I didn't start wrestling till freshman year of high school, and so like I was a little late in that aspect. But then once I got into it, I liked it so much, I just kept rolling with it. But academics had always been something where I was like, all right, well, the better I do, the more chance I have of getting a scholarship as long as my grades are on point and I'm doing well at school. Like, boom, it'll mesh together. And thankfully, I was able to combine those by being able to still go to a D1 school and a school that was known for its academics So I think I got the best of both worlds.
Well, did you make a decision based off of, I mean, obviously you went to Columbia, so that's an insane academic rigor. Was that sort of the plan, or were you going to pick a school with academics, or were you going to go athletic first?
So honestly, it was gonna be athletic first because I just figured, all right, if you're smart enough and like care about school, you'll do well at whatever school. What happened is, since I was kind of a late bloomer, so there's FBS and FCS, it's like the big D1 schools and the smaller D1 schools. And so all the bigger D1 schools I was talking to would have been like preferred walk-on situations. And so some people do them and like, come out well, and you hear about stories about them and they like make it to the league and everything. There's a whole bunch of like nightmare stories. So I'd heard those and I was like, all right, let me just go to a school where I know they want me for sure. And then since I was already going FCS, I was like, all right, may as well go to the best school I can go to, like something I wouldn't be able to get into like on my own.
For sure.
And so that's kind of how it like ended up and meshed pretty well with like both ends of what I wanted.
That's awesome. So that was sort of the when you were growing up. Let me ask you this too, because you don't get to. I feel like it's an amazing thing when someone has the athletic ability, but then also the academic ability. And I've always thought when you're in high school, that decision-making process has to be difficult, because I've come across a lot of guys who are really intelligent, and that can kind of screw them in the recruiting process, because I don't know as much in the football world, but in the baseball world, you'll see guys who it's kind of like, well, I can go to this Division III school and get that academic part that I just spent my whole life, raising the game towards, or I can take a chance as a preferred walk-on at Division I. And so then it's kind of like, well, do you tell this guy to chase the academics and go D3, or do you have to have some sort of athletic? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So in my view of it, at least as far as it goes for football, nothing against D2 schools.
Right.
But usually what it is like the most academically rigorous, like big research schools need to be obviously D1s. So like, even though some people might not think of some of them, so like maybe like ASU probably isn't thought of as like super rigorous, but you still got like, Stanford, UCLA, like University of Minnesota, like those big schools are D1.
Sure.
And then D3 will still have like a bunch of really good schools like University of Chicago and like other schools where it's like, athletics aren't as big a deal, but it's like a really great academic school. D2 is like where it's like, all right, your athletics are on point, but they're not as much known. Like it'll be like random schools people haven't heard of. So until I got to the point where I was like, okay, I'm for sure a D1 prospect, it was basically between, all right, I'm either going to go D1 or D3. Like D2 schools
what I was
wouldn't have
saying.
been. Exactly.
Yeah.
So it was either going to be all or nothing. And then once I like saw, okay, I say like Ivy League schools hadn't been an option, realistically, I might have, it would have been tough. It would have been tough to decide. Oh, for sure. I think at that point in my life, I was still like and I still very much am, like athletics are kind of like snuck in, taking the top spot. But the thing that's nice with like being academically minded is like as long as you like do well enough in school or do well in school, you'll still have those options open for you down the road. So it's like there's a bunch of people that end up being doctors that come out of different schools that aren't like super well known. So it's not like
I can't even imagine you playing Division III football. And you had, people who I don't know. No, does the shot do it justice? How big this guy is? How strong he is? Lordy we were in the sauna this morning, and so Lordy, for people to understand this a little deeper too, Lordy and I are big. We're big sauna guys, big sauna nice guys. So we get a lot of conversations in those barrels. But anytime someone new is around and Lordy walks out, they always go, "That guy is massive." And you are a strong, put together human. I can't imagine you playing Division III football.
Yeah, well, the thing is,
I feel like I could have played Division III football.
Coming out, especially so my freshman year of high school, I was 150 pounds. I was like 6'2". I was still tall.
This is fresh. This is high school.
Freshman year of high school.
So you were small.
I was small. So like I did a lot of grinding. It wasn't like fat or anything.
Yeah.
But for sure skinny, not like built up at all. So I put like a lot of grinding in throughout high school to like get bigger. I kept looking at like numbers like, okay, what are college football players supposed to look like? So it's like, all right, I want to like be around this. Okay, I know based on my height and my position, I want to be around this weight. So even college as well, I put on a lot of weight, and a lot of people have their transformation. But it was like so late in the game recruiting wise where it wouldn't have been a big surprise. It would have been realistically, it probably could have been one of those stories where it's like you hear every once in a while of kids from like D2 or D3 end up like at the NFL combine.
Make it, yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
It's like late blooming type thing, or
Right.
so I probably would have been that type of situation. I for sure was not looking like this. When I walked onto campus as a freshman.
Well, what was the turning point in your career where you did start putting on some serious strength?
So I was a big wrestler. Abbott Valley High School is like a nationally ranked powerhouse.
Massive, right?
Yeah. So they're very much known for wrestling, and so honestly, the culture that they had in terms of athletics, that had a big effect on me. So my freshman year, I was on the B team for football. My football coach, he was a big wrestling guy. He's a state referee every year at the state tournament. He's one of the big referees. And his son was like the first, I believe, 4-time state champion in Minnesota history. Wow. So they were big Abbott Valley pedigree. His son went on to wrestle at the University of Minnesota, big wrestling family. So he's like, hey, all the kids on the B team, if you do not have a winter sport, go out for wrestling. We will not cut you, and I promise we'll make you better at football.
Wow.
And so, like, boom, all right. I took his word for it. Boom, signed up. And then ever since then, because it was such a big, like, program in terms of national recruiting, you have a whole bunch of kids that are nationally ranked, like blue-chip recruits, top in the state, top in the nation. And you just see their work ethic, their grind, like what they do, how they take care of their bodies. And a lot of those are parallel to football. So it's like, okay, all right, I see this guy. He's like the number 2 recruit in the nation at his weight. He gets up early, goes and lifts before practice. He stays late after practice. He's in there like day before Thanksgiving. He's there on Christmas Day getting a little workout in before he goes and hangs out with his family. So it's like, okay, I'll just keep doing that same thing. Like, I'll just follow these older kids, do exactly what they're doing. Yeah. And it worked out pretty well.
That's powerful. Well, it's the power of mimicking, right?
Exactly.
And I think we've talked a lot about, if you want to see yourself doing something, go and study what those people do. Mm-hmm. What's wild to think about is how you're talking about high school, so what do you think do you think that that's sort of the telltale sign of someone who can move forward? Do you think that that's innate, or do you think that can be trained into you to have that mentality early on? Because that's a young age to have that sort of focus.
Yeah. I think it can. So with that, I would say it was already the hard work ethic, just for sure my parents, and then even the academic sector. Yeah. So I guess it's more channeling it. I will say anybody can learn it, but it depends on your level of motivation. So it's like, that's for sure an inner drive to like, okay, I want to excel or exceed at this thing. This is important to me. But anybody can learn the skills of like, hey, if you put in like 10,000 hours, it doesn't matter how bad you were when you started. You're going to be, something good. Yeah, you're going to be something special.
Well, that's what's very curious about that too, because do you think that knowing your evolutionary of the family and what the roots of what your family has and those demands, and then obviously the standards that they hold academically, athletically, just as a human in general, do you think that plays a huge role into it too, sort of the standard of your family? Yeah,
I think for sure, like where you start off with like that nurture, like what you're trained in. If you're already starting off with, okay, I already know, okay, I have to like do my homework and then do extra. Like I remember any kid that's like, not to say that I'm like on a level of like excellence yet, but any like young athlete that you see like excels, like a high school national champion. Yeah. They usually have, no offense, like their parents are a little crazy. Like just the training regimen to like get that type of excellence out of a kid that young, they're usually a little crazy. So I remember my parents, after I'd be done with my homework, they used to get these workbooks from Sam's Club. So like say I was in 3rd grade, they get like the 5th grade rated workbook.
No way.
And then make me do it. And I remember one time I was crying tears on the workbook because they were making me do it, and I wanted to go watch Digimon. It's like looking back on it, obviously it wasn't that bad, but like I was like tears on this paper, and they're like, "Nah, you got to finish it. I can't read it. You better rewrite it because your tears are all on the pencil marks." And I see that all the time with top level athletes, where like kids at wrestling. Obviously, there's like a level where it's like the parents are doing too much. They're affecting the mental. But I see all the time, it's like you really got to like push it out of you. Like you got to get, now I'm used to it where it's like, okay, I'm ready to put my body through the grind. I'm ready to like, get at the grind. For sure. But like, it's for sure a learned thing. Nobody's born like that. And even if you learn it late, it's still possible to learn it.
Yeah, it just probably gets a little bit more difficult as you get older, you know, because you have to reframe so much of your past, right? And go ahead.
I think when you're older, it is tougher, but you need like a bigger motivation. So like a guy that I'm really into is David Goggins.
For sure.
And so he for sure didn't start out with that mindset, but he had a big enough motivation. Great point. So that's where it's tougher. It's like, all right, when I'm a kid, it's just like, really you just need like, hey, my parents aren't going to make me do it. and then long enough, and it's like, okay, now I'm pushing myself. When you're an adult, there's nobody to make you do it.
Right.
You need like a big internal drive. You need a big reason to change.
For sure. Well, and that's one of the reasons why I love hanging around you, just in general. I mean, obviously we talk about performance stuff, but I think it's important to be around people like yourself for my own sake, right? And then the other people around us. And we talk about that a lot in the Heat too, is surrounding yourself around people who think like that, talk like that. And then, because you have your own world, I have my own world, everyone's kind of doing their own things, but everyone around you is trying to advance, and that just makes you better. You know, what really sparks me to ask you this question is, what is it now as you are an adult and you are you do get into that alone type part of your life where you have to ride on your own choices, your own disciplines and those sort of things. What is it academically, football, family, just everything that you push, because you're an unbelievable athlete or human who chases edges. When you are living your day-to-day, what is it as a whole that makes you do those sort of things?
My big thing, and I've gotten a lot of it honestly from you and your guys' talks about stoicism, is I really don't want to have any regrets. I don't have a fear of like failure. Like I feel like, you know, like if you're not like gifted enough to like play basketball, like okay, whatever. But it's like if you're already like 6'6", you might not be like super tall for basketball, but it's like why not just like go all the way if that's what you love?
For sure.
Because you only have a small window. So especially with football, because like really the average career is like 2.5, 3 years.
Yeah, it's short.
So it's like a really short window. So it's like you got to go hard as fast as you can, as long as you can to try to make it. And then it's like, all right, if you don't make it, at least you know you did everything you could. Whereas I don't want to like look back. The worst thing for me would be like 40 years old looking back and I'm like, oh, I wish I'd done this. I wish I'd done that. And it's like way too late for that, number one. And then you can't really get over it because you can't do anything about it at that point. So it's like right now I'm in it. I'm young. I don't have like a lot of attachments. It's like, okay, I need to do everything I can to try to achieve my goals or dreams or what I want, because it's going to be temporary. It's going to, even if you get to your goal, like there's going to be a day you're not playing football anymore.
Right.
And like I want to look back and say like, okay, I did everything I could. And then part of it too that's nice is like I started to like really be into the process, because
I love that. Yeah.
especially with football, like we don't play nearly as many games as baseball guys do. So it's like we have like one game a week for like 4 or 5 months out of the season. So like we're training year round. There's so much more practice and training and like weightlifting relative to actual games. Where it's like I've gotten to the point where like, okay, I'm used to the grind. I like the schedule, and I'm just like found the fun in it. Like the guys I work out with, or like the different sessions, or like doing the sauna and ice. Like, I have a lot of different things I'm doing that kind of keep my attention. Where it's like I don't see it as a chore. It's just like I get up and it's like what I do. It's just my thing.
I like that. Do you think that adds a lot of peace in your journey too? Is knowing. So I've always thought stoicism brings a value of peace and contentment, you know, and then you get excited to almost see what you're capable of, and then you go into your day and you go, okay, what am I capable of today? Do you feel as you've gotten older as an athlete, do you feel you have more contentment knowing that you're just trying to see what you can achieve?
Yeah, I've gotten in love with, I guess, enjoying the process. Like I feel like the results are, so like game day, I don't think of, obviously you want to be mentally prepared for your game day, but I see that more as like taking the test. Like I already did all my studying. It's just like letting everybody know like what I learned, what I can do. So I don't see that as much as the stressful moment. It's more the day to day. So there's some days it's like, all right, I want to get up early and work out, but it's like, all right, if I don't work out, I'm gonna feel really bad because I lost another opportunity. Time's ticking.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, did you feel when you were in college, did you ever have moments where because what I'm trying to get to is, did you just see the Mike Tyson, he was on a podcast recently, and there was a Mike Tyson, I don't know if you saw this, Nolan, it hit home with me hard. He was doing.
He's not that guy anymore?
Yeah, did you watch that?
Yeah, I did. I saw that.
And there's a lot of people who go through that, and I also think if you can realize that when you're in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Then I think that would make you better if you can realize that when you're in it. Like, what would Mike Tyson have been able to achieve if he could have realized that in it? You know, like that, because now he's obviously on the back end of it, and it hit him, and it was amazing how he articulated like he can't get to that old him and that line and that in the boxing and all that sort of stuff. And I've seen, I mean, I went through it. A lot of athletes go through it, and I think that people who pressurize that or fear the end of a career or that short window, if they spend so much time fearing that short window, then they don't enjoy the process.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And so I think that you can achieve more if you can recognize that when you're in it.
Yep.
And now I have that contentment. I don't want to say contentment in the sense, I think you know what I'm talking about.
It's just like, I'm cool with however it ends up, but I'm going to do everything I can to get everything I can out of it.
Yeah, and it's more of like looking at it as a platform. Like you're looking at sports as this is, because you are a well-rounded human. That's what makes you so intriguing to listen to. And you also challenge me a lot, which is fun. I love working with people who are very, like we talked about grounding.
Yeah,
you know,
I'm very cerebral.
I still owe you the research. So I have a buddy, going sidetrack here, but I have a buddy who broke his toe, right? And he's taking a picture side by side of his toe every morning. So he goes out and he puts bare feet in the ground. He's done it for 2 weeks now. I will show you after this. His pictures of his inflammation in his toe have gone down every day. And he now basically has no red toe. Like it's still structurally, like the bone is still broken.
I got you.
But the inflammation has gone down within a week.
Okay.
And he's done no ice, none of that stuff, just grounding.
Okay, all right. Well,
I still owe you the
I wonder
research.
how much of that is his natural body. The human body's amazing.
This guy ran cross country in like 7th grade. He's been drinking beer since he was 17, I think. You know, this guy is not a specimen by any means. But I still owe you the research. So I'll go on record here that I have not held up my end of the bargain. So I apologize on that. But going back to that contentment side, you seem to have done that. Like you seem to have somehow created this vision or this way of living where you are just very advancing. And it seems like you're doing that at all things. Like you're very willing to listen. You're very open-minded. You're very curious. And I think when you do that in sports, the back end of it will be amazing because you're going to have from sports, hopefully it goes on for 10 more years, you know, or whatever. But no matter what, like you're going to be fine. Yeah. And I just wonder, why is that? Do you think that is the family, the academics, the people you've been around? What is it that makes you so curious and open-minded?
I'd say it's twofold. So one part of it is, since I've been cut so many times, I realized like, okay, football does not last that long. So I already came into it where it was like, all right, it's not going to be very long. Now it's like, okay, even shorter. Like, I really don't know how long I'm going to be in it. So I've always been thinking forward towards like, okay, what's the next 40 years going to look like? What's the end of your career? Like, what else do you like to do? So I'm very curious in the fact that like I want to like find out, because I still don't, like, I'm pre-med, like I want to be a doctor. I don't know what type of doctor I want to be. I don't know if I'm going to end up doing something else in healthcare. Right. So like I'm very curious about learning about different things to see like what I like. I have to try and taste a whole bunch of different things.
That's really cool.
And so having that and not having to focus on like, okay, my career is going to end. It's like, all right, well, I have a whole nother like lifetime to live. There's so many people that pivot careers and try different things, like start businesses so much later in life that I don't have a worry about like, oh, okay, well, you spent like 5 years playing football, like, and now you're about to jump in the workforce. Like, I see it as like such a cool thing I got to do. I was like, okay, yeah, I got to do this for 5 years and now I'm doing something else. And like, I'm able to like, I've seen so many people be able to like pivot their athletic careers nowadays. They didn't used to be able to do as well, but like, for instance, like the late Kobe Bryant or Shaquille O'Neal, so many people are able to pivot into different businesses or different avenues, or Martellus Bennett even started like a little creative agency, and he's like putting out children's books. And I've even seen it with teammates. Like one of my teammates in Montreal is written a children's book. Wow. One of the guys I work out with, Billy Turner, he's really into like designing different clothes. So, like, if you check out like the Packers Instagram, like everybody has these cool different like bleach shirts with patches and shit on them that he's made, and it's like so cool to be like able to be multifaceted. And I really like admire people that do things like that, and like I strive to be like a well-rounded person.
That's so cool. Well, you know, and hammer in on the sore subject of the cutting. You know, you've been cut numerous times. I've been cut. Nolan's been cut. Everyone in MindStrong's been cut. You know, and it's going to happen to everyone for the most part. You know, what is that process? We'll keep it on the positive side. What has that done for you that you've been able to sit here today and reflect on that was a positive for you?
Anytime you're cut, it's nice because it's almost like same thing like a test basically.
Yeah.
All right, I can go back and I can look kind of like what answers I got wrong, what I need to fix. So thankfully for the most part, except for the AAF one, that was a little weird, I've been able to like either talk to the scout that brought me in or the defensive line coach before I've left the building.
Yeah.
To like, hey, what do I need to do to work on to advance my career? Or like, what did you like about me? Why'd you bring me in?
Sure.
So it's like I know what my strengths are and my weaknesses are from somebody else's perspective. So that's been amazing to have that opportunity. Obviously, you could just ask your coach without having to be cut to do that.
Sure.
But being cut gives you a full, because you're kind of shit kind of shakes up your world.
Oh yeah.
So like you're moving different locations and stuff. Like you're like saying goodbye to like all your friends. It's like a big like life change whenever it happens. So it's a big enough moment where you can take some time, sit back, and reflect, and then kind of contemplate your next moves.
Yeah, and the other thing is you're so close. You know, you find things where you're so close to them and you can taste it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then that happens. And then I think what's even more miraculous that humans are capable of, like yourself, is you keep going.
Yeah.
You know, and you've found some sort of sustainable fuel source through all that struggle and negativity to keep moving. Mm-hmm. You know, and that's where when you go into those environments and you do get different perspectives, have you noticed similarity in that, or does everyone have a different perspective? Have you felt like people have given you a good feedback, or do you think people have brushed off when you try to get their perspectives?
For the most part, good feedback. At least every NFL team I've been cut from, just because it's really, outside of say the top, 10 people on a 53-man roster, everybody else has been cut. Most of them have been cut multiple times.
Right.
A lot of it's like scheme, timing, business decisions. So it's really common. So everybody's been through it. Even especially the players or the coaches that used to be players, they've been through it too. So everybody understands, and that's one of the few times you can really be, even though it's a business, one of the few times you can really be, I guess, compassionate about it, because that's one thing. Telling somebody what they need to work on is one way you know for sure you can help them. You don't know if they'll actually act on it,
right,
or if they'll take you seriously, but like you did your part to do something good. You put in some good energy into the world, and for the most part, because especially in the NFL, the coaching jobs are so. They might be there 1 year, they might be somewhere else, they might be out of a job in a year.
Right.
So they feel it as well. They get it on the other end. So.
Well, football in general is wild. I'm understanding football the more that I'm around football guys, but it is so wild to me how you guys are always on call. Mm-hmm. Is that a weird part, like mentally? Like you would never sign. I don't know, and maybe we know. Maybe I'm gonna be wrong here, but I would probably never get a phone call from the Twins to come and pitch in a big league game this September. Mm-hmm. You know, but if you're in shape and you're out there, football might call you week 15.
Yep, 100%.
I don't understand. I do now, but I didn't. But what is that like on a mindset of a football player? Is that it almost would be like exciting. Yeah,
so that's part of the reason why it's easier to keep going when it's like, obviously different times of the years, it's more likely to get a call than others.
Sure.
Or from different teams. It can obviously be twofold. So like, there's always like, okay, I got to stay in shape. There's another team that I can call. I have another opportunity coming. And then on the other end, it's always like, hey, if I'm on a team, obviously you know how your standing is. You got to realize, okay, there's like 5 other dudes look like me, run like me. They're waiting on a call. Like if I mess up, they'll ship me out. They'll have another dude in my locker in like 24 hours. Literally, seriously. One time I was cut. I saw the dude that they replaced me with I saw him coming to the hotel.
No way.
Yeah, so I didn't realize at the time, but then I came in, they called me, they're like, yeah, we need you to come by the office.
Bring your playbook.
Bring your iPad. The random front office guy was like, oh, okay, I saw a big guy checking in the hotel. That must be the one. So it's wild in that aspect. But it's kind of fun because I remember, especially the summer of my rookie year, it was like, I couldn't really go out and like plan any like vacations, or there's a bunch of stuff I had to say no to just because I couldn't be out of town. Yeah. But it was cool because it's like, all right, I don't know what city I'm gonna be in next week.
That is cool,
I could be wherever.
Well, that's a big part of it too. How do you think that's weighed on you in an exciting part? Because I find now, even as an entrepreneur, like I'd miss I missed that, so I tried to design my life to be like that. Like I'll leave on a whim if I can go. If someone wants me to come to Nashville tomorrow, I'll go out there.
Yeah.
And it's just fun to live like that. I know it's very unorthodox, and a lot of people don't do that.
Yeah.
But for some reason, the athlete world, it's a fun way of living. It's stressful.
Yeah.
And it's definitely stressful on people every now and then, relationships and whatnot.
Yeah.
But for some reason, that is intriguing. Do you find fun and joy out of like you never know where you could be?
Yeah, I like because I'm a big I work best with routine, so I try to kind of schedule out my like off-season training.
Okay.
Like a nice routine of what I'm doing different days. Maybe not the timing as much. Like, hey, on this day I know I'm gonna do skills training and weightlift, or I'm gonna do sauna and I'll have some conditioning work. So that's a fun way you can kind of like mix in like that suspense, that surprise. So honestly, I enjoy it. I love it. It would be obviously worse if I like had like a family and kids, or like if my girlfriend lived here. But it's like, it's just me. I'm ready to go whenever. You hit me up, I'm out.
Pack the bags, baby.
My bag is ready. I keep it's the point in the summer. I kept my bag ready just so I wouldn't have to pack. Because they'll call you and it's like, hey, they'll give you like 24-hour notice basically. So it's like
Brian just went to the XFL. And he called me and he goes, hey, I'm going down to Dallas, do a workout, and then when I'm down there, I'll sign with one of the teams. And I was like, okay, nice. What do you do? And he goes, I don't know. They just called me this morning. I'm flying out in a couple hours. And I was like, where are you staying? He goes, I don't know. I'll figure it out when I get there.
Yeah,
exactly. When's the workout? Tomorrow at 4. Well, what happens then? I don't know. I just got to be there tomorrow at 4.
Yo, that's exactly what it is.
It's wild, man. It's the wild, wild west out there, but it is fun, right? And so, you know, you mentioned in there about routines and training and what you do. How have you, if you were a younger Lordy, if you're talking to younger Lordy about what makes you in the best shape mentally, physically, emotionally, whatever that is, what have you seen to improve in your routine as you've become more wise?
So I was big. So I was smaller in high school, and I was, knew I was going to end up playing defensive line by my sophomore year. I remember one of my coaches told me, hey, yo, if you put on some weight and keep working hard, you'll be like a great player. So I was like, boom, took it to heart, ran with it. What I did not focus as much on was flexibility. So I would tell younger Lordy to stretch, even though it's boring.
Stretch it out.
I should have stretched more for sure. So I've taken a bigger emphasis on flexibility, and I've seen the results. Would have been nice to have done this earlier, like in college maybe, because it's crazy how good I was, how tight I was. So like it's crazy to think what I would have been. And then mentally, I really sometimes just did things just to do them. It's like, okay, I'm gonna work out just because like I know I need to work out. I didn't really think about the end goal, and so that would have been better to kind of like. It's a lot easier to get an extra workout in or do like, an extra conditioning thing when you're thinking like, okay, my goal is to play in the NFL or my goal is to like win more games or go to conference. But I would just do things and check them off the list. It's like, all right, this is what athletes do. This is what I'm supposed to do. I didn't really connect it to like my dreams as much. And that would have been better just to, not that I ever had an issue with motivation, but when things are tougher, like now where it's like, all right, you're getting cut. Now it's like, all right, do I really feel like it? Or like when I'm doing things that are harder that I'm not used to. It's good to think, okay, why am I doing this? All right, yeah, I really want this. That's why I need to do this.
Well, and that's another thing, because you do have the opportunity that whenever football does end, you're going to have tons of opportunity. Do you think that ever becomes a negative for the immediate?
Yeah, so sometimes, and it's been good and bad. So part of it is like I think to myself, okay, I graduated from an Ivy League school. I consider myself a smart guy. Like job-wise, I should be fine. Like, so I'm not concerned about time that I've lost. Whereas some people might be like, oh, you've been playing football for a couple of years. You think it's time to like, hang up the cleats.
Time to move on, right?
Exactly. But then, unfortunately, on the flip side, because like a lot of my friends that I play football with or even went to school with, went to Ivy League school as well, and they started working. And then sometimes I'm like, yeah, it'd be kind of nice. It'd be kind of nice just chilling, go to the office. Yeah. And then part of me, like, I always come back and I realize, like, nah, if I did that, like, maybe, like, other things would be better in my life. But, like, mentally, I don't think I would feel very good. Like, I'd be like, oh, what if? Because I'd look and I'd probably see, like, one of my old teammates from a team. Or, like, somebody I used to train with, and I'd see them, like, on a team. I was like, dang, I could have been me. So I always think to myself, all right, the grass is always greener. Because so many of them say the same thing to me. It's like, oh, dang, Lord, I wish I was still playing. Oh, it looks so fun. And it's like, Yeah, so I feel bad whenever I'm like think I thoughts like that. It's like, hold on, my buddy's in that position. He's got a job right now. He's in New York, and he was just doing what I was doing. So what do I have to complain about?
Yeah. Well, that is it's a wild concept. I mean, and I think that's kind of the yin and yang because it happens everywhere, right? It happens both sides of it. If you were to flip over it's interesting that you chose pre-med at an Ivy League, and then you've kind of mentioned the medical health side of it. What is it that makes you so curious about that?
So to start off with, there's this joke about I think it's the other immigrants have the same joke, but the West Africans for sure have it. It's
I'm excited for this joke.
Yeah. You have 4 choices as like the child of Ghanaian immigrants. You can be a doctor, lawyer, engineer, or disgrace to the family. So there was for sure a lot of family influence when I was growing up before I even really knew what a doctor did.
Yeah.
And then when I got to college, really is when I like really got into it. Was my psychology classes. So pre-med is like a group of classes, but it's not an actual major. So my major was psych. And like I thought the brain was so interesting. It was so crazy how the body adapts and the cool little tricks you can play on your brain, or like how neurons work. And so like that aspect of it, like fell in love with. So that's why I know even if I don't end up doing the whole med school thing, something medical related, healthcare related, because I just think it's so crazy what we can do as humans, or like the way you can augment people or you upregulate a gene. Like I don't know, that is like honestly something so cool to me. The 8 years of school, not as much, but we'll see when we get there.
How have you noticed? Yeah, screw that part.
Yeah, right?
Screw that, dude. I'll just buy my mom was talking to me the other day about she wants me to go do the PhD stuff.
Oh, yeah,
And
dude. I can see you doing it.
I've had a lot of people who have tried to influence me into it, but the thing is, I have so much fun once you learn how to learn, you go down the rabbit holes of what you want to learn.
Yeah.
And to me, it's so exciting to just learn. So I showed her a picture because I just went and bought, because you can go and buy PhD programs at a Barnes and Noble. You know what I mean? You can just do the course on your own, or you can do the books. So I told her, I was like, here's my PhD. I'm just going to do it this route. Because the school part drives the thought of, and I don't know, I'm thinking out loud. I have no answer to what I would do there. But just the thought of going back to school and then losing out on what we do, I think is really cool, and we're learning all the time. So I just like learning like this. Like I like learning through a podcast or traveling and going to the source, like going and meeting a doctor and hanging with them and learning from them, and then leaving there and then doing your own thing. I mean, think about us, man. We were outside doing, basically butt naked squats today with just a little bit of cloth on them.
I wasn't doing all that. I just got in the sun and got out.
That's true.
I don't know what he's talking about.
How do you like that? What do you think the sauna and ice in terms of that training aspect?
So,
or the breathing, I guess, too.
Honestly, I really got into it just because of Brian Peters. Like, I saw him do that all the time. I'm like, I've learned now being around more and more pro athletes. I used to be a super research focused, and I still am. Yeah. I used to not do anything unless I was convinced 100% sure it would help me. Now I've seen like what other athletes do at the top level, and it's the margin of return. What's the best way to put it? The difference in guys is so small that it's worth trying a bunch of new things, even if it has a minimal return. Like even if it's just like a mental, like, okay, it's I think it's gonna help, so it helps. That's worth it for me. Just seeing like how small the difference is between guys and how guys actually approach it. So I've been able to experience a bunch of different things, like acupuncture, a bunch of different things that I wouldn't have like thought about trying before that I've liked. And so ice baths I've been used to because like during training camp practices, guys always hop in the tubs. Right. It was the sauna part that was new to me. The sauna, I wasn't really a big sauna guy. So, I saw Brian post about it all the time, and I knew you were doing it. So I was like, all right, let me try it out. And I've liked it a lot so far. I wasn't a big cold tub guy in college. I would do them every once in a while, but I just hate how you like get wet. Sure. And afterwards you're cold for a while. But with the sauna contrast ones, it's so much better because you can warm right up.
Oh, it's wild.
And then honestly, the sauna, especially after the workouts, that's probably been my favorite part. It for sure, like whatever hormones it upregulates, or like the protein synthesis, because I for sure noticed like I haven't even been trying to gain weight and I've put on pounds.
It's crazy.
I haven't even I usually have to be very good about my calories because of my high metabolism. I've just been doing like maintaining, and like I put on 5 pounds and I was like, where did this come from?
Well, it's wild you say that because I mean, not that I mean, I'd like to say I hang with the boys in the lifting aspect of it, but when I first started doing, because I do heat after, and I tell you that we should do heat after the lift, do it, hammer it. And I stopped lifting as much a few years ago and started exposing myself more to heat, and then I used the cold for the reasons why we use the cold and those sort of things. But people started saying to me, "You're looking bigger, and you're looking stronger, more fit." And in the beginning, I wasn't as in depth of what I was doing with the heat. I kind of felt the same way, like intuitively, I was like, I must be the sauna, whatever. And it was one of those things where it was like, well, I'm lifting less and I'm getting stronger. What is happening here? And obviously with what we know of what sauna heat does to you and the shock of it and the stress it does to your protein and growth hormones, it makes tremendous sense. I tell athletes now to not have a heat source after a lift. It's like a PED. It's like a legal PED.
Yeah.
You know? So, well, awesome, man. Well, let's wrap it up into the sense of we always like to. I've missed a few times on asking people these questions, but when we kind of take everyone through what we call the Diamond Series. So Brian was actually the first ever podcast we ever did, and he was the first person that went through it. But one of the things that makes it really interesting to hear about people, and you have an amazing story and obviously an amazing human, but when you think about sports, life, relationships, academics, everything aside, just you as a human, when you think about like your purpose in life and things that you're willing to struggle for or things that you're servicing people, organizations, whatever, what is it that keeps you in the moment? What is it that makes you have a feeling of a sense of a why or an intention in just being a better human?
The idea that you can kind of mold yourself into what you want to be. So like I always, I used to, when I was younger, think about like, oh, I want to be like this guy or that guy. And I've gotten to the point of maturity where I realized like, I just want to be the best version of myself. Thankfully, like there's always something you can change and get better at. So in different aspects, obviously, better athlete, better boyfriend, better son. So I really try to stress myself in different areas where it's like, all right, I want to be the best version of Lord. Like what I look at and I see like, okay, this person does that well. I want to like add that to who I am as a person. So I guess that's striving for a better version of myself.
Powerful, dude. Powerful. It's an unbelievable answer. When you think about that, you've already kind of mentioned about your routines and things that you do. When you think about your daily value system or your standards, mentally, emotionally, or physically, what's sort of the things you have to check off the list when you know you had a good day? At the end of the day, if you were to check off certain things, what are the standards that you have to hit? Whether that's you have to work out, I have to eat well, I have to sleep well, your morning routine, whatever it is, what's sort of the standard that you want yourself living at?
Okay, so not every day because I don't work out every day, but like, get a good training sessions in, whatever it is. And then a big thing, actually, I got this from you, is like every day I want to make sure I'm doing something to become a better athlete.
Yeah.
Like specifically like a better football player. So even if it's a day I don't work out, I want to make sure I'm stretching. So it's like I'll feel bad if like I'll think through my day and it's like night and I didn't do anything. Or at least stretch. At least know I'm getting better somehow, some way. Just because, if you're not growing, you're dying.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Just so I have a little something going. And honestly, now that you mentioned it, I'm going to have to try doing that just as like a person. Like,
for sure.
Make sure I'm always like getting better as a person. So, yeah, that, and I always at least once a week try to like reach out to like friends I haven't talked to in a while.
Nice.
I have like a big network just because I've been in a bunch of different places, different teams.
Traveled the world, basically. Yeah.
So I'm a big, like, I'm a long phone guy. Like, I'll talk on the hour, walk around the house. So at least once a week, I got to catch up with somebody that I don't normally talk to. So yeah, make sure I'm getting better at football. I'm going to add in, try to make sure I'm getting a better person.
Yeah.
And then I got to reach out to somebody at least once a week. Got to have a good talk.
I love that. I feel like I find some synergy in that. I like doing that too. I like poking at people. I like sending those random texts every now and then to people you haven't talked to that you guys have a really strong bond, and send them that. And that's always been positive. I would actually, anyone who's listening, I would urge them to take that advice from Lordy.
Call your mom, guys.
Yeah, call her mom. So to finalize it, something that's always pretty fascinating to ask somebody too is, we've talked a little bit about the process, and we've talked a little bit about post-football and pre-football. We've talked about a lot of stuff, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. And when you think about what is and you talked about in your purpose just now, but the vision moving forward, what excites you? That you've talked a little bit about motivation, but what is that thing, that carrot out in front that makes you do these sorts of decisions?
Especially like football wise, I feel like I'm so close.
Yeah.
What's amazing is, especially this offseason, I've been able to go back, look at old videos of myself, or go through workouts and think like, wow, this feels so much better. I feel like I'm a lot better at this, or this move looks a lot cleaner if it's like a skill work. So honestly, the growth that I can go back and see, that's an amazing inspiration and motivation.
That's cool.
And then on top of that, just being, I've been very grateful to have a lot of opportunities football-wise.
Yeah.
And, as long as somebody's still calling my phone, I'm going to still keep working out.
Why not?
Exactly. I'm going to still go for it. So, I don't know. Obviously, this upcoming season in the CFL with the Alouettes will be a big motivation for me. But, yeah, honestly, going and being able to look back at the past, at what I've been able to do, and then going forward, my hopes and dreams.
So cool, man. Well, I'm a huge fan outside of the friendship and everything on that. I've known you for a few years now.
Yeah.
And you've been an unbelievable person since I met you, and then it's been fun to train with you. This has been a really fun off season to really get to know you even more and then train with you even more. And you are what you want to see in athletes. Like, it's something where you attract to it because you've handled a ton of hits, and you've just, since I've known you, you've handled them. Like, very simply, you've just handled them. You've moved forward. You're an extremely open-minded athlete. You reflect on things. You're curious about things. You adapt, which is just a huge quality in general. That's fun to watch people have. And then on top of that, man, you're just a good person. So, I mean, I'm
loving the compliments.
Yeah, dude. I just get pumped up and we did a sauna already, so our minds are all, we're in that mystical place. We're all feeling good. But no, I think it's cool, man. I appreciate. Obviously, we'll have you on a coffee buzz, so you guys, this isn't the end of what you'll hear from the great Lordy. But appreciate the time, man. It's always fun, and it's getting springtime here too, so we'll have some more fun.
Oh yeah, I am honored to be on this. It's great because I would listen to BP's episode anytime I got cut.
Yeah.
So it's crazy now I'm on the bad podcast.
He
so
was
hopefully
the first, and you're the 100th.
Yeah. So hopefully somebody's listening to this and is inspired. If you get cut, listen to my episode, not Brian's. This is the one you got to listen to.
We had to earn 100 to get to the Taj Mahal podcast. Well, right on, man. Well, hey, let's go enjoy the rest of the Friday.
All right. Have a good one.
Cheers.